This topic touches on culture, psychology, and personal values.
but might cloud judgment when making serious life choices.
I think the first step is self-reflection. Just because they're afraid of change?
Relationships are a two-way street. Welcome. Today we're diving into a topic that's timeless yet always evolving. Sex before marriage. I'm Bojan, and I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Amelia. Amelia, ready to explore this with our listeners?
Absolutely, Bojan. This topic touches on culture, psychology, and personal values. Let's help our listeners navigate these complexities with an open mind.
Let's break this down into three key areas: cultural influences, psychological insights, and personal choices.
That's a great way to structure it. Let's start with cultural influences. Bojan, what do you think drives the diversity in opinions across cultures?
Tradition plays a big role. In some societies, abstinence is a symbol of respect and value, while others emphasize freedom of choice. Each perspective reflects deep-rooted cultural norms.
Right. And societal expectations often place undue pressure on individuals, making personal decisions even harder to navigate.
Next, we have psychological impacts. This one's interesting because it ties into how intimacy can affect our judgment and emotions.
Exactly. Psychological factors, like emotional attachment or clarity in decision-making, are often shaped by our experiences and values.
And let's not forget that intimacy can release hormones like oxytocin, which deepens emotional bonds but might cloud judgment when making serious life choices.
Finally, personal decisions. Bojan, what would you say to someone struggling with this choice?
I'd say focus on your values and communicate openly with your partner. There's no universal answer. It's about what feels right for you and your relationship.
Exactly. And for those wondering if they're on the right path, remember, it's your journey. Align your choices with your values and long-term goals.
Amelia, let's explore this idea of aligning choices with values and long-term goals. What's your take on how people can do this effectively?
That's a great question, Bojan. I think the first step is self-reflection. You need to understand what your core values are. For instance, do you value commitment above all else? Or is personal freedom a priority for you?
Good point. And once you've identified those values, how do you translate them into relationship decisions?
By setting boundaries and expectations early on. It's about being honest, not just with your partner, but with yourself. For example, if you know waiting until marriage is important to you, communicate that up front.
That's powerful. I've noticed that when people compromise on their values, it often leads to resentment down the road.
Exactly. It's like building a house. If the foundation, your values, is shaky, the entire structure becomes unstable. On the flip side, when your actions align with your values, you create a sense of harmony in your relationship.
And this doesn't mean you can't adjust over time, right? Sometimes your goals or perspectives evolve as you grow.
Absolutely. Relationships should allow for growth, both individual and shared. The key is staying aligned as you grow together.
Speaking of alignment, we've prepared another visual for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see a diagram now that illustrates how values, goals, and relationship decisions intersect.
One thing I've noticed, Bojan, is that people often feel pressured by society to prioritize goals that don't truly resonate with them. What's your advice for handling this?
I'd say tune out the noise and focus on what really matters to you. External pressures will always exist, but at the end of the day, it's your life and your choices.
So true. And this brings us back to the idea of communication. If you're clear about your values and goals, it's easier to communicate them to your partner.
And when both partners are on the same page, that's where the magic happens. A relationship built on mutual understanding and aligned goals is so much stronger.
Couldn't agree more. It's not about perfection, it's about progress and alignment.
That's so true. And alignment isn't just about romantic relationships, right? It's a principle that applies to friendships, family, and even professional relationships.
Exactly. Let's take friendships as an example. If your core values don't align, like how you handle trust or loyalty, it can create tension and misunderstandings.
And in family dynamics, alignment might mean understanding each other's perspectives, even if you don't always agree. It's about respecting boundaries and finding common ground.
Absolutely. And let's not forget professional relationships. How many people stay in jobs where their values don't align with the company culture just because they're afraid of change?
That's a great point. Misalignment in any area of life can lead to frustration and burnout. Recognizing it early can save a lot of heartache.
Right. And coming back to romantic relationships, alignment doesn't mean you and your partner have to be the same. Differences can be healthy as long as your values and goals are compatible.
Exactly. It's like having a shared map, but taking slightly different routes to the same destination. What's important is that you're both heading in the same direction.
That's such a great analogy, Bojan. And speaking of direction, what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck in a relationship because of misalignment?
I'd say start by having an honest conversation. Sometimes people aren't even aware of the misalignment until they talk about it. And if you can't resolve it, it might be time to reconsider the relationship.
Agreed. It's better to address these issues early than to let them fester. And remember, alignment isn't about perfection. It's about making intentional choices that serve your growth and happiness.
That's so true, Amelia. And intentional choices don't always come easily. It takes effort, reflection, and sometimes tough conversations. But those are the building blocks of something meaningful.
Exactly, Bojan. And I think people often underestimate how much those small intentional actions can create big changes over time. It's like compounding interest, but for relationships.
That's a great analogy. Each little act of kindness, understanding, or compromise adds up, and over time, it strengthens the bond between partners. But Amelia, what about when someone feels like they're putting in all the effort and not getting much back?
That's a tough situation. I think the first step is to communicate openly about how you feel. Sometimes people don't even realize there's an imbalance until it's brought up. And if they care, they'll want to work on it with you.
True. And if they're not willing to put in the effort, then that's a red flag. Relationships are a two-way street. Both people need to be invested for it to work.
Absolutely. And sometimes recognizing those red flags early can save you from long-term heartbreak. It's better to be honest with yourself and your partner than to force something that isn't working.
Speaking of honesty, I think that's one of the most underrated aspects of alignment. Being honest about your needs, your goals, and even your fears can create so much clarity in a relationship.
Completely agree. Vulnerability can be scary, but it's also where true connection happens. When you're willing to share your authentic self, it invites your partner to do the same.
And when both people are authentic, it builds trust. It's like laying a foundation, brick by brick. Without honesty, even the strongest relationship can crumble.
Exactly. And trust isn't just about being truthful. It's also about being reliable. When your partner knows they can count on you, it creates a sense of security that's so important.
That reminds me of something else, Amelia. Patience. Sometimes alignment takes time. You might not see eye to eye right away, but if both people are committed, you can find a way forward.
That's a great point. Patience is key, especially when life throws unexpected challenges your way. How you handle those moments as a team says a lot about the strength of your relationship.
Absolutely. It's in those tough moments that alignment really gets tested. But when you come out the other side, it can bring you even closer together.
And that's the beauty of it. Alignment isn't just about the good times. It's about navigating the hard times together and growing stronger because of them.
So, to sum it up, alignment in a relationship isn't something that just happens. It's something you build through honesty, patience, and intentional choices.
Exactly. And when you approach your relationship with care and commitment, it becomes a space where both people can truly thrive.
Couldn't agree more. And with that, we hope we've given you some food for thought about building healthier, more aligned relationships.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If this episode resonated with you, leave us a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences.
Until next time, take care of yourself and your connections. See you soon.